Welcome to the Week 15 DraftKings main slate lineup builder. I'm your host, AndrewDFS. If you haven't subscribed already, check us out on Twitch, YouTube. My handle on YouTube's at AndrewDFS. I'm a correspondent on a website called FFMetrics. Go check out that site for the best projections in the game, weekly game summaries, and handicapping advice run by the brilliant scout R.C. Fisher. And I'm also a co-host on a podcast called Huddle Up, which drops episodes every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the week. So check us out on Spotify, subscribe, and thank you all so much for tuning back in. So before we go into Week 15, let's break down the winner of the Week 14 Millie Maker, Hacksaw 11, $1 million. Incredible. Congratulations. This is a hell of a lineup too. So starts up top with Lamar Jackson, and basically he had a pretty unfavorable matchup in the rain. Didn't really know the weather was going to impact that game, but came through, dropped 35 points. That game was high scoring, went into overtime, and on top of going with Lamar, doubled down on this stack with Odell and Isaiah Likely, who each had close to 20 points and were less than $4,000. So incredible ROI across the board from the Ravens players. Next, there was an in-game stack with Rachaad White and Drake London, two people that we were high on as well. Both players did incredible. Drake London dropping 32 points with only $4,600 of salary. That's definition of ROI there. Anytime that Ritter and London are playing together in the dome, it usually hits well, and London was priced pretty low for his target volume. Deebo Samuel just can't seem to cool off. For the second straight week, he's the leading player on the slate, so 37 points, incredible. Like, just doesn't seem, since Thanksgiving, he's just been going off. And then we have Joe Mixon at 21 points, which is a so-so performance, but not bad. Like, didn't kill the lineup, and I think it was a solid performance. Then Eckler for $7,600 of salary. Yeah, you want more than 21 points, ideally, but again, did his job and didn't tank the lineup, obviously. And lastly, the Minnesota defense, which brought in 20 points by shutting out the Raiders, who subsequently, 4 days later, dropped 63 points on the Chargers, which was really interesting. So that rounds up the winner of Week 14. Hope you do something crazy with the money. And as you guys can tell just by looking at the cumulative field percentage, 104.8, this was not a chalky lineup. So typically what we do is we add up the ownership percentages by position, and the total here is 104.8. And if you're less than 100, that means your lineup typically isn't chalky, and that's what we've been we've been seeing the opposite. We've been seeing more chalky lineups as of late. So this is more of a professional player, and this user also had 70 entries as well, which lets you know that there, it's not your average Joe just getting lucky submitting a lineup. Putting a Lamar Jackson, Odell, and Isaiah Likely stack, that's not a common way to go about it. So congratulations to Hacksaw. And hopefully somebody listening to this podcast wins one of the Millie Makers this year. So without further ado, let's dive into the Week 15 lineup builder. So we're going to preview each game as we normally do, and then we'll dive into the DraftKings site. So we'll go game by game here. First, we have the Atlanta Falcons, 3-point road favorites going into Carolina. Over under there's 33. You don't really want to touch any of the passing game options here. Ritter had a pretty good day. He was actually in a bunch of winning lineups last week, but not the game's gonna have like 20 mile per hour winds. There's gonna be rain. This is more conducive to playing a defense and a running back. So I wouldn't do anything more than that. Then we have Bears and Browns. So Browns are 3-point 3-point home favorites. And yeah, I mean, Browns are missing a bunch of people on defense, so it's kind of, yeah, it's if they were fully healthy, this would probably be a game where you want to definitely use them against Justin Fields, who's a little more shaky. But this game's sort of a wash for me. I don't have a strong read either way. Flacco's looking good, but the Bears' defense is also coming on as of late. Kind of hard to tell if they're doing it against a softer schedule, because they did have the Lions twice in there, and the Lions haven't really been doing all that great. They've been sort of faltering, and we're going to have to, this is sort of their first, like, okay, now they're going on the road. Like, how's the defense going to look? So, TBD. DFS-wise, I don't really love too many things here. Yeah, I mean, if you think that Fields can take advantage of a Browns defense that's missing some key players, maybe go for it, but I'm not convinced that Fields is all the way there. So this game's sort of a wash. I don't want anything to do with it. Tampa going into Green Bay 3.5-point home favorites, and what I like here, over under here, is 42.5. I like Rashad White for Tampa, as I normally do, and Chris Godwin, I believe, is going to be out, but the Packers' strength is their secondary, so I think that they'll be able to contain Mike Evans, which makes me feel like this is going to be more of a Rashad day. On the Packers side, there's a bunch of injuries to receivers. I think Watson out, Jaden Reed's questionable, and that opens it up, and I think Wicks might also be out too. So basically their two main pass catchers that are left are Romeo Doubs and their tight end Tucker Kraft. So those can be some cheap options to play. The key thing to watch out here is Tampa's been missing some players on their defense, so make sure you monitor whether Vita Vea is playing, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. Those are the names you want to look for if you're going to fire up receivers, etc. Texans Titans, looks like Stroud's not playing, which is why the Titans are a 3-point home favorite. And over unders 37, not expected to be high scoring. And people are coming in on the Titans to cover this. Titans don't really have all that great of a secondary, and they're coming off a really big high beating Miami Monday night, so I think I expect them to deflate a little bit here. When it comes to the fantasy players, the one that I like in this one is DeAndre Hopkins' revenge game, playing his former team. I also think a Will Levis stack with him is totally fine, but I'd probably just avoid Levis because there's going to be some depression here from week to week. I can't see them putting back-to-back like great performances. That was a crazy game Monday night, a big emotional roller coaster. They're probably thinking, oh, CJ Stroud's out, we got him, but I think this game will be close. So I like Hopkins. And then on the Texans side, I think obviously with Stroud out, it's really hard to trust their pass catchers. So I'm not really keen on anyone on the Texans side. You can make a case for one of their cheaper pass catchers, like a Robert Woods or Noah Brown type of guy, but it's a dart throw. It's hard to tell if they're actually going to hit with whoever ends up being under center, Davis Mills or Case Keenum. Giants Saints. So Tommy Cutlets is traveling into the Bayou. Saints 5.5-point home favorites. Giants a public dog. Never really ends up well for public dogs. You can see that 60% of the tickets are on the Giants. I think the Saints are going to come out in this one and put DeVito, try to really take advantage of DeVito. The way the Packers are playing defense was a little strange, where they were basically, letting DeVito have his way with them and rush all over the place. I think that the Saints will come in with a better game plan and really take this guy out. So I'm not excited starting any Giants players against the Saints. And on the Saints side, to be honest with you, it's really rough picking out who's gonna have a big game because no one really goes for 30 on here. So from a DFS perspective, it's hard to get excited for like Olave or Kamara or Taysom Hill. They all get curtailed at 20, and for Taysom Hill, that's fine. But you want Kamara if you're gonna pay up $8,000, whatever. You want that possibility of that 30-40 point game, but with Jamal Williams and Taysom Hill cutting into his carries, it's just not possible. He had the juiciest matchup last week and couldn't take advantage of it. Okay, then we have Jets-Dolphins. So bunch of injuries on the Dolphins side. You can see that their spread dropped 13.5 to 9.5, which is insane. So Dolphins 9.5 point home favorites. 36.5 is the over/under. Not expected to be a high-scoring game. Crazy winds on that side of the East Coast too, similar to like Carolina. Florida is going to be really windy this tomorrow. So from that game, I don't like the fact that you're going up against the Jets secondary. Seems like Waddle and Hill are both injured, and Tua's not looking great. Dolphins should have a bounce back here, and Jets are coming off a high. If I knew that everybody was 100%, maybe I'd say Tua Tyreek stack here. But again, the Jets defense is so tough. Like I don't want to say that Tyreek's not going to score on them because he's just incredible. But in the off chance that he doesn't play, I wouldn't even do Waddle. I think Waddle will get shut out by Sauce, and Tua just without Tyreek looks like a bottom level quarterback, like barely startable. So the matchup I like here, if Devon A-Chain was fully healthy, I would have liked that. But Breece Hall should be a good start against the Dolphins D. Anytime that you have Wilson and Hall together, Hall could hit. I wouldn't go Garrett Wilson. So I know Hopkins went crazy, but I feel like Fangio's smart enough to figure out how to stop the number one receiving option on the other side, especially with Ramsey there. So is Howard getting burned? Maybe Ramsey will follow Wilson and keep him in check. Hall's my play in this one. 49ers Cardinals. 49ers are 12-point road favorites. Incredible. 70% of the tickets are falling on them. Over-unders 48.5. A lot of people are going to stack this game. Yeah. Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. These guys have been money. CMC. And it's hard not to. The key thing here, and it's the key when anytime 49ers go up against an opponent like the Cardinals, is that there's blowout risk here. So they can get up 35-0, and then all of a sudden we have Sam Darnold and Jordan Mason back there. So really possible. And I don't expect the Cardinals to put up much of a fight. So yeah, I mean, fire up the boys. Just know that it's gonna be a chalky play. So if you're more contrarian thinking like me and you want leverage against the pool, I'd probably avoid. I wouldn't play it, but that all logic dictates to do it, and that's why it's chalky. Commanders Rams. So we have the Washington Commanders going into Los Angeles. Los Angeles is 6.5-point home favorites. 81% of the tickets are on the Rams. Everyone's thinking about like how well they played against Baltimore, and I get it. Yeah, they did really good. I didn't think that they would keep that game close, take it to overtime, and probably should have even won that game. But here's the thing: they're coming off an emotional game, traveling east to west, and Washington had its bye. So I think that we can see this game stay close. It's going to definitely be high scoring. Stafford, Puka, Kupp, these are all going to be chalky plays again, kind of like San Francisco. I think people are going to dump money into those two games. Now, contrarian play here, Kyren Williams. Kyren's still going to be chalky, but he'll take away points from Stafford, from Puka, from Kupp. So if you're looking to get contrarian here, that's how I would do it. I think Sam Howell's a fine play too. If you want to go Sam Howell at quarterback, stack him up with McLaurin or something, and then bring back Kyren, I think that's fine too. This could be the last performance of Howell's playing in a dome now, so might look good. So, risky though. Risky. Here's another one that is high scoring. And, finally we have like 3 games that are like playable. I feel like we've had a bunch of slates where it's like, like just a bunch of like over-unders that are like close to 30. Cowboys, Bills, Dallas traveling to Buffalo, Dak Prescott on the road. I don't love this for him. And the line is now up. The line is -2, so Buffalo's 2-point home favorites, 49.5. Tickets are almost split 50-50, so it's 54% on Cowboys side. I like Buffalo's offensive players more than I like Dallas here. I don't think that I think Dallas is coming off like a really big high beating the Eagles, and they might let this one slip. If Dallas comes out and wins, though, they're a legit team. I mean, they're 10-3. They are a legit team, but I'll take them more seriously as Super Bowl contenders. It's just hard. Like, time and time again, these guys can't make it to the NFC Championship game. But this game, if they can go on the road and beat Josh Allen in his house when the Bills desperately need this game, Bills desperately need every game, that'll speak volumes to me. I like a Stephon Diggs and Allen stack. Diggs has been awfully quiet. Awfully quiet. This is time. I know. I think Dallas... You saw DK Metcalf. They can be beat. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they were carving them up. They both had fumbles. Actually, there were 3 fumbles in that game. Smith, Hurts, and Brown. So, yeah, they definitely can be had. Ravens, Jags, that game got flexed in. That's why they're on this screenshot. I couldn't pull them out. But then, lastly, Chiefs-Patriots. So we won't talk about Ravens-Jags since they're not in the main slate. Chiefs-Patriots was the Sunday night game. Now they're Sunday morning. And we have the Chiefs as 8.5-point road favorites. 84% of the tickets on Chiefs. That's insane. That's a big public's really tilting into them. And I don't blame them. Chiefs are on a 2-game losing streak. They should come out and smash. All this chatter with Bill Belichick, I'd be cautious. I'd pick my spots here. So I like Jerick McKinnon. I like Rashee Rice in this one. And on the flip side for the Patriots, I think you can play Zeke here if Stevenson's out. We'll check DraftKings right now to get the official word on Stevenson. But again, this one's probably going to be a low-scoring, like 24-10 game. I'm not excited for it for fantasy purposes. So, okay. The 3 games to keep in mind weather-wise, we talked about Carolina and Atlanta already, but also just make sure to monitor the Florida weather, especially if you guys have players playing in that Jacksonville game too. 20-mile-per-hour winds is expected there. And then Buffalo is going to be rainy. 15-mile-per-hour winds shouldn't affect Josh Allen, but could affect Dak. And then for the Bears-Cleveland game, probably showers, 14-mile-per-hour winds. So, again, those conditions didn't really affect Justin Fields last week. But now he's going into the dog pound. Hard place to play. So, yeah, I'm not excited about it per se, but they are missing people. So if you want to go with that gamble and do it, I don't blame you. Okay. Let's go into DraftKings. Give me 1 second. All right. We are now in the DraftKings platform, so we can start looking at each player. The way that we like to do this is go position by position, tier it by salary. Who would I play at? So in case you like playing expensive QBs, mid-sized QBs, whatever, I'm going to give you my picks at each tier and who I would potentially stack them with. So let's start $7,000, and actually we'll start $6,800 and up. That'll be our cutoff. So out of the $6,800 guys, we have Allen. I would play. Dak, I would not play at $8,000. That's too much on the road, bad weather. Tua, pass. Mahomes, pass. Stroud, doubtful. Fields, it's a tough matchup for me. So 2 options here. You either go Purdy at $6,800. He's not being priced in. He's the co-MVP favorite with Dak. Dak is $8,000. Purdy has the best matchup in the world, and he's priced at $6,800. So the NFL community and DraftKings is not respecting Purdy. But people that play DFS are going to hammer him because he's been money, especially the past few weeks. He's hot. So I would go either or with Allen. I'd be afraid of a Kincaid stack because Knox is back. I would go Allen Diggs. It's expensive, but I think that's going to hit this week. I think this is the week where Diggs comes out, especially his brother plays for the Cowboys, even though Trayvon's injured. I think he can come out and be like, yeah, got you, little bro, or something. I don't know. And with Purdy, it's hard not to say Debo, but damn, you got to think that another player is going to have an explosive performance on their side too. So I do Ayuk to get different, but I don't feel if you wanted to go Purdy, I wouldn't blame you. So those would be my two expensive plays. So let's move to the mid tiers now. So we'll start with Kyler. And we'll work down to Mayfield. Oh, Mayfield is a mid tier. Weird. So I wouldn't play Kyler against SF. That's asking for trouble. I think Howell's perfectly fine. Love could be okay if a bunch of people for Tampa are out, but he's also missing receiving weapons, so pass. Stafford, playable for sure. Kind of crazy. Why is Howell more expensive than Stafford? Interesting. Wow. Huh. I would not have expected that. Carr, pass. Mayfield, pass. Okay, so in our mid tiers, two choices here. Howell or Stafford. Ironically, they're playing in the same game. Slight lean on Stafford because of the price. Just doesn't make sense. But if you want to get contrarian and pay up $300, it's all right. $300 won't kill you. Okay, now the bottom of the barrel. And stacks for Washington. I think you can go Thomas, obviously. You can go McLaurin. I like the McLaurin play because the guy's not made any noise this year, which could speak more bad to good, obviously. Why hasn't he been doing well? But his targets are there, and I think this is a high-scoring game, so I'd go for it. I'd try this stack one more time, see if there's something in there. Brian Robinson is out, so perhaps Gibson could be a good play in this one too, and that he's a pass-catching back, so that could be a good stack. And then with Stafford, obviously, Kyron's a good play. He's a pass catcher, so that I consider that a stack as well. I would probably go Nakua because I think a lot of people are going to be on Kupp after Kupp had his 100-yard game last week, so I like Nakua a little better here. And then if Higbee's out, that Allen tight end guy could be an interesting DFS play for Rams. I don't have a strong opinion on him, but just volume could work out. Okay, so Flacco, I don't hate Flacco in this matchup against Chicago. I don't think that's the worst. It's just that Chicago's D has been coming on late, and Flacco's game last week was against Jacksonville, who has a shaky secondary, so just be careful. Will Levis, I like more, especially the Hopkins revenge factor. They're coming off an emotional roller coaster win against Miami. I wish they kind of got a little more shut out, that game just ended there at 21, whatever the score was. I think they were up 3 touchdowns, 27-14. So that I could have played Will Levis more comfortably here, just knowing that he hasn't had a big game, but he should do fine. He should be good in this one, and he's at home. Ritter, last week I said Ritter was one of my favorite cheap guys. No, not this week. Not on the road, not in crazy weather. Don't do it. I think that's you're asking for trouble. Winston, he's not starting, so pass. DeVito at New Orleans, no thank you. It was great seeing his family on TV. That whole Italian family, those vibes, it was a cool story. It's going to have a really bad ending on Sunday, though. Bailey Zappi. Nah, not again. Casey's going to be too motivated. Don't do it. Zach Wilson, I would do. I would double down that something's happening in Miami and go with like a Zach Wilson, Breece Hall stack. Like, I'd be more inclined to do that. Davis Mills, I wouldn't touch. And Bryce Young, absolutely not. How funny. The Dallas backup quarterback. Look how hard Bryce Young has fallen. The backup quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is more expensive than Bryce Young. And Bryce Young's drawing a good matchup with Atlanta, 21st. Allowing their top 10 in QB scoring. Yet Cooper Rush, who's not expected to take a snap, is priced higher. Interesting. Okay. I think we're done here. I'm done being annoying and bashing on Bryce Young. Poor kid. Terrible situation. Okay. CMC, 9,300. At 9,300, we do this every freaking week with CMC. I love the guy. I think he's great. He's a shoo-in for 30. That's not enough for 9,300. For 9,300, you want like 40. So let's review the games where CMC went for 40 points. And while DraftKings is opening up, let's go into game logs. How many games did CMC go for 40 points? Last week, he was 20 for 9,200. Bad ROA. Week before, 22.3, 9,000. Week before that, 33.9 for 8,500. That's more palatable. But you can't have these 20-point games. They're great in redraft. But for DFS, when you're paying up, you need this. You need 51.7. And that's literally happened one time. And I don't expect the San Francisco 49ers to all of a sudden just run like crazy through CMC and put him at risk right before the playoffs, especially when they have stronghold over the division. They're going to get on top of these guys. Probably McCaffrey's going to go out in the fourth quarter, and he's going to close at like 20 points. They don't want to overuse him. He is injury prone. He has that history, so be careful. And we'll draw the line at the expensive running backs at, we'll do Pollard, just so we have this full screen, even though, yeah, I mean, there's a wide range here, but whatever. Kamara pass. I just can't trust this. I think he's great. I can't trust the Saints' usage of him, and Derek Carr is just disgusting. Kyren, I would play. I like Kyren here. He didn't do well last week. I think he's due this week. Barkley, pass. I don't like the game script in that Saints game. It's hard to read. A-Chain's questionable. You just don't know. If A-Chain can't go, then Mostert. I'll be honest with you guys. Mostert got both of his touchdowns on like 2-yard plunges. I don't think he's looking that great. And those even when they played the Jets last time, Mostert wasn't even doing that well. He broke free for one, but Jeff Wilson was carving them up. If A-Chain goes out, Jeff Wilson was having a day against the Jets. That would be an interesting play at like 4,600. Rashad White. Excellent matchup. I would fire him up. No questions asked. Derrick Henry. I could see it. He likes to take advantage of Houston, but this is more of a Hopkins game. They're going to let Hopkins go crazy on his former team. And especially Vrabel being a former player, knowing like what that means to another fellow player. I don't think this is going to be a Henry week. Even though he's really been producing the past 2 weeks. Pacheco's out. Bijan Robinson. Yes, I would play him. Again, low over-under, so I want to play running backs there. Carolina's one of the worst run defenses. Atlanta's using him more. So lots of evidence pointing to play him. Pollard. I don't feel great about it. I can't see it. I can't see that really hitting. So I'm going to pass on Pollard. And I don't think has Pollard even gone for, so has he dropped 30? Let's see. I know he's been doing better lately, but has the guy dropped 30 all season? Yeah. No, he has not. His highest is 22. I don't want to pay 6,700 for 22. I'd rather pay it for like Bijan and hope for a 30-point game, which he could have easily done last week if his quarterback wasn't an XFL quarterback. Sorry, Desmond Ridder. Okay, now let's go for the mid plays, even though I kind of had some mid plays in that. I made that tier a little wide. So we'll go from Aaron Jones to, let's round up. So yes to Kyron, yes to Rachaad White, yes to Bijan. So those are the 3 expensive plays that I would play. Okay, mid tier. Aaron Jones is questionable. You don't know if Vita Vea's not playing and and Aaron Jones comes in, then maybe. But yeah, tough to trust right now. Breece Hall, I would play for sure. He looked very different when you play him with Zach Wilson. James Cook, I don't know. He's been doing better since they fired the OC. If you look at the past couple of games, Dallas is a good rush D though. But he's dangerous like in the passing game as well. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember when they fired their OC, but I want to say that I think he was fired before the Philly game, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even I think it was the Jets game. So Cook is definitely getting more targets. Yeah, it was the Jets game. It was after they lost Denver. So if you look at his game log since the OC's been canned, like he's getting a lot more touches. So look at that: 17 attempts, 4 targets; 16 attempts, 7 targets; 5 targets, 10 attempts. I wish he had a little more last week, but I mean, damn, like he had he's a threat to go 100 and 100, but like receiving and rushing. But maybe not this week. But I'm in on him. I'm in, and I don't blame you if you want to go with him. So we know B-Rob's out. We know Stevenson's out, and since Stevenson is out, Elliott is playable, and he's sort of like a check down receiving outlet for Bailey Zappi. Look at that. He had 8 freaking targets. They ran him 22 times. Guys, you can't ignore that volume, but just keep in mind that like this game script could tilt the other way too. So there's risk with Elliott, but damn, like he's been fresh. He hasn't really run all year, like had a big workload. So I could see it. I could see if New England's gonna try to win this game, they're gonna run with Elliott a lot. It's not gonna matter. Bill Belichick's stubborn like that. I think that he'll definitely have his 5,800 price tag is worth the volume. Okay, we'll cut off at Elliott and now go down to from the mid-size guys, I like Breece Hall and Elliott. Okay. Cheap. Now let's go to our cheap guys. So we'll start with Connor. You don't want him against SF. I want no business of that. I like Chuba Hubbard against Atlanta though. I think the game's going to be rainy. Atlanta's missing a couple linebackers, and Hubbard's really been getting a lot of volume, so he's worth that price tag. I think he's cheap. Ford's hard to trust. He really is, because he splits with Hunt. It's almost like an equal split. He looks better than Hunt, but I don't want anything to do with it. Same with Singletary and Pierce. Just don't want anything to do with either. Dillon, questionable. That's interesting. Okay, so Green Bay's might be without Dillon and Jones. Bodes well for Tampa. Damn. Green Bay's missing a lot of freaking people. Might be good for Dobbs and Tucker Kraft. Antonio Gibson I like. McKinnon I like. CEH I could like. I don't like Foreman. So, starting with 5,000 and up, my favorite plays would probably be, I like Hubbard the most, then Gibson, then McKinnon. That's who I would play of the cheap guys. Again, Gibson, Brian Robinson's out. Gibson in that role, without him there, it's going to be really good. $5,200, cheap price tag. and he's going to get plenty of volume. So you want that. Better, I mean, McKinnon's good too, but he's splitting with CEH. Gibson, yeah, he has Christian Rodriguez back there, but I think Gibson's going to be the main guy, and he's a pass-catching back, so bodes really well for him. Okay, now we're going. You guys, if you've watched this podcast before, you know I love my bottom of the barrel bargain hunting. So let me see if I can find something for you guys. Hunt, maybe, because he splits and he's so cheap. I could see that hitting more than Ford, but he just doesn't look that great. Spears, I'm out. Herbert out. Pierce out. Mason's too expensive. Otherwise, I would have considered. If he was 3,000, I might have just thrown him in there just because they can dominate. Christian Rodriguez is another interesting one. He's definitely going to get some run because Brian Robinson's out. He hasn't really done much all season, though. But he's looked good on tape. Say that. There is risk to Gibson because Rodriguez could look really good. Algier pass, Edmonds, nothing here. Jeff Wilson Jr., if A-Chain's ruled out, I like him. 4,300, not bad. So look at the game where A-Chain didn't play when he played with the Jets. He looked really good against the Jets for whatever reason. He's been fresh too. And that is all she wrote. Sorry I couldn't give you more here, guys. But you know what to do. You know what injuries to look out for. So those are your bottom of the barrel bargain deals or whatever. So now let's start with receivers. Damn, lots of questionables. Okay. Expensive. 7,000 and up. Tyreek Hill, 9,900, questionable against Sauce. No, thank you. CeeDee Lamb, 9,200, on the road against Buffalo. I can't pay 9. 9's too much. Diggs, I would do 8,400. Cup, 7,800. He is gonna be hammered at that line. I promise you that. Debo, 7,700. Damn, his price went up. That's crazy. He was 5,900, I think, for the Thanksgiving slate. So crazy. Good for him. Too much for my taste. Evans, he's going up against a tough secondary. We saw him go up against get shut out by AJ Terrell, but that could also be a good thing. That could mean that Evans could have a bounce back week. Not confident in it. Waddle, no. Nakua, yes. Ayuk, yes. And then no to Olave and Collins. So, guys, I like Ayuk, Nakua, and Diggs. Am I missing anyone? Yeah, those are my 3. I like Nakua this week. I think he's gonna be Stafford's main look. For whatever reason, I think everyone's going to be in on Cup and forget about Nakua. It's a very good contrarian play. Let's go to the mid place. So we'll go Godwin. We'll go to Wilson to Moore. So DJ Moore, I love him this year whenever he completes games with Fields. This guy's money. He's going to get a touchdown, but I'm just scared doing it in Cleveland. Against that secondary, it's tough. Thielen, pass. Hopkins, I like. Rashee Rice, I like. Cooper could hit. I like the 6,000 receivers more than I like the higher price ones. Look at that, man. 14 targets. That's a healthy amount for a $6,000 player. So, and then Godwin is probably going to be out, so I wouldn't touch him. Wilson, I could see if you're going to go Zach Wilson, It's tough. It's tough because if Ramsey's on him, I don't like it. So, okay, from the mid plays, I like these three right here: Hopkins, Rice, Cooper. I like Rice because I think Casey's going to be motivated, try to get him the ball. New England D is not what you think it is. Like, they're not really that great. They've just had a really fortunate run in their schedule. So don't be afraid to play Rice. I wouldn't play Mahomes, but don't be afraid to play Rice. And he can easily get 100 yards and a touchdown. Okay, now let's start with our next mid, like low mid players. McLaurin I would play. I like that matchup for him. Avoid Davis, avoid Drake London in bad weather, bad quarterback, just bad situation. You can go Romeo Doubs. He's going to get a lot of volume. Just know he's going to be chalky as well. Cooks, questionable. Marquise Brown, questionable. Noah Brown, questionable. If Stroud was playing, I would really like this Noah Brown play, but I'm not excited for it without him. And Jaden Reed looks like he's going to be a go as well. Okay. I thought he was going to be out. Does not have an injury designation. Okay, this is interesting. I like this play. He's been getting a lot more looks, not only through the air, but on the ground. I can see this one being a good play. I like Jaden Reed here. So, from this section of players, I like McLaurin, like Dobbs, just from volume, and I like Reed. But I like Reed more than Dobbs. And Christian Watson's doubtful. Now let's go here. Dotson and Samuel. I would lean on Samuel, but I think both are playable. So if you want to stack either, my choice in that Washington stack is going to be McLaurin. I think this is McLaurin's pop game. Like, I have this funny, kind of like the feeling I have with Hopkins, I have with McLaurin, where Hopkins going up against his former team or whatever, right? That feeling I'm getting, but something about this McLaurin going into LA, into a dome, high-scoring game, like, just feel like it's going to go through him. I like Samuel, though, if you want to play him as well. Dotson would be, like, my third choice in that, but I don't think it's a bad play if you like him. Elijah Moore, he was getting targets at one point, but might have cooled off last game with Cooper there, so... Or Cooper, like, fully, like, integrated. I mean, Cooper with 14 targets, this guy at 6. I mean, Flacco's just slinging the ball all over the place. Shaheed, you can play. I think Shaheed's coming off his injury. Just know that, obviously, he's been dealing with that hamstring or thigh. Doesn't have an injury designation. It's risky, but, like, this guy's definition of, like, a boom or bust, like, fantasy player. So he was on his way to have a really good day when he was playing Atlanta a few weeks back. I had him in some of my lineups. Let me down when he got injured. He had like 5 targets on the first drive. It was pretty crazy. So I don't think that's a bad play at all. Woods, I'd be cautious about, just because you don't know. Stroud's out. Like, it's kind of hard to predict, but not impossible. I think he played for the Titans too. That would be funny. There's two revenge games there. Obviously, Hopkins with the bigger one. I like Shaheed better though. Dortch, I think Michael Wilson's playing, so you don't want to play Dortch with Wilson there, and Wicks is questionable. So if Wicks is out, and literally the top 2 receivers are Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, I like them a lot more. I think Wicks draws some targets as well, so that could help them. But of these cheap guys, the guy I like the best in this 4,000 range is Shaheed. I like Shaheed here. This is going to be his first week where he's fully healthy playing without Michael Thomas. This is what I was looking for a couple weeks back when I started him. So I think he can hit it. I don't know if I'll do it, but I think he can hit it. He'll be in some of my lineups for sure. I don't like Mingo. I like Demario Douglas. He was getting used by Zappy and Mac Jones, so definitely consider him. Khalil Shakir, Yeah, I mean, with Dawson Knox back, they're going more to 12 personnel, so they're not playing 3 receivers. So he's not getting as much snaps. Wan'Dale Robinson, I wouldn't read too much into his pop game. That was more of a... They're really playing like a cover 2 shell or whatever. I don't know why you would play that against DeVito. It's such a weird, like, defensive choice by Green Bay, but it basically let Barkley and Robinson go crazy. So I don't think Robinson's just going to come out and smash the Saints. That would really surprise me. But I like him. I've used him in spots. Just don't think this is where I would want to play him. Juwan Jennings pass. DeMarcus Robinson. He's hard to trust, but he's been doing well past 2 weeks. He's emerging as that like third option for Stafford. So maybe, but I'm not excited about it. A.T. Perry, no thank you with Shaheed back. Atwell questionable, Parker questionable, Smith-Schuster questionable. This is good for Demario Douglas. All these people questionable on New England receivers. Mooney, no. Tillman, no. Westbrook Nikine, no. Moore, hard to trust. Especially if Wilson's there, it kind of kills like Moore, Wilson, and Dortch's value. So you got to really monitor this guy. He runs as there too. Watson, hard to trust. These are just crapshoots. At one point, Xavier Gibson was getting run, but it stopped last week. Maybe because they were up so much and they didn't really need to use him. So that could be it. But against Miami, I don't think that they're going to just dominate them the way they dominated the Houston Texans. I think that's all she wrote. Yeah, if you want to bet on a Kadarius Toney bounce back, you can. Not too keen on it. Yeah, nothing else here that I love. So from the cheap players, my choice would be Demario Douglas. Tight ends, all right. Almost to the finish line, folks. Okay, Kelsey, pass. I don't think the guy's been worth his salary more than like once this entire season. Kittle, hard to tell. You just don't... Kittle's the one that's sporadic in this. It used to be Debo that was sporadic in the San Francisco offense. Now it's like, you just don't know. But he's been so quiet that it's like, is it his time now? I don't know. It's literally a gamble. Did have a touchdown last week, but again, like, this is not... 16 points is not worth his salary here. Like, you need a... This was a good play when he was 49. Damn, he fell really low. Then he had a couple like 20-point games and popped off. Like, you need something like this, this kind of ROI. But he doesn't. Yeah, it's been tough. Last 3 weeks, like, he's been under 20 points. That could indicate that that he's gonna do better, but. Also, just keep in mind that if it's a blowout, it looks like they don't really play him as much. So, yeah, like this 31-13 game when they were just dominating Seattle, they try to protect their players. They're careful about it. But Debo is just like going ham off his limited target share, so that's why he's been going crazy. Hill, I could see this work, 5,500. He's been worth the salary a couple times this season. Kincaid, I'd pass on. I think he's overpriced because of the Knox factor. McBride, pass. Schultz, pass. Ferguson, pass. Njoku, I like this one. But he literally just exploded. Like, he just had his 2-touchdown game. Played in a dome against the Rams, did nothing, and then drops 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Yeah, like, it's tough. I wouldn't bank on him doing that 2 times in a row. So out of here, I don't think I like anybody. I don't think I like anyone Njoku and up. Honestly, there's nothing here that like really excites me. That's why tight end is very tricky in DFS. You gotta find that cheap right player. Komet, not against Cleveland. Darren Waller IR. Pitts, crazy wins. Bad quarterback. Logan Thomas. The Rams, likely go crazy, but held Njoku in check. You can do it if you have that stack. I think the Njoku in check could have been more to the fact that it was like Flacco's first game. So just be mindful of that. This guy, what's his name? His first, I want to say his name's Davis Allen. Dennis Allen's the Saints coach. I just wanted it to be convenient. Same names. Yeah, I mean, first game, I think that was the first game he played as a starter. Looked good. 5 targets. Could be interesting. 3,300 if you have a Stafford stack. Cade Otton, I'd pass on that. I'm not too keen on it. Henry, pass. Conklin. I remember Wilson used to target him before he got benched. I just want to see. Yeah, look at that. 6 targets there. Wilson likes to use him. These are his games with Wilson. Like, he can easily just get you 10 points. But, again, there's crazy winds there, so I'd be careful. Wilson's not the quarterback you want in 20-mile-per-hour winds. Tucker Kraft I would play, but I'm less excited about it now that that Jaden Reed's playing. Juwan Johnson pass. Chigakonkwo. So this one's an interesting cheap play as well. He's been catching on, I believe, as of late. So if you look at these past 5 games, he's 5+ except the Jacksonville game. Pulled off 6. So he's, probably averaging around 5 targets, 2,900. It's a crapshoot. I mean, at 2,900, if you have the Levis stack, like, why not? If you're gonna go Levis, Hopkins, just throw Chig in there too. See what happens. Knox is interesting at 2,700. He is so freaking cheap that you don't need much from him, and I think they use him quite a bit. Like 3 for 36 on his first game back. Like at 2,700, guys, like all you need is like 6 points. Like he's cheaper than defenses. If he catches a touchdown, God forbid, like that's it. You made up his salary. So I like that play, especially because I feel like Buffalo's going to pounce on Dallas. So it's just my personal opinion. I think Dallas has it coming. Sorry for Cowboys fans out there. And that is all she wrote. Okay. Let's look at defenses now. So not too much on the tight end side. It's tough. Tight end's really tough this week. 49ers, 4,400. Oh, that's so much. I can't pay up that. That's a huge price tag. Dolphins, I wouldn't do 44 either. Chiefs, tough to trust. Saints, I could see them hit. I could see that hit. So out of the really expensive ones, I like Saints, I like Falcons. I'd like the Browns, but I'd need to see that injury report. I can't make that call without seeing who's playing for the Browns. Houston, no, I wouldn't play them. Chicago against Cleveland, I would not do that. Even though Chicago D's coming on, it's just tough to trust. Rams, if you don't believe in Howell, you can play that D. That's a pretty reasonable price. Packers, maybe. You can take a shot with Patriots, but it's hard to really... Patriots or Bills. It's hard to really trust either, obviously, but they are super cheap, so if they get that pick 6, could happen. But again, pick 6 on Mahomes is kind of tough. He's pissed. They're probably going to come out and stomp these guys. That's what makes me a little nervous about Elliott. But Elliott's definitely going to have volume. I like the Jets. The Jets at 2,500 in bad weather with Tyreek potentially out. That's not bad. 2,500 is not bad at all for New York. So if Tyreek gets ruled out, I love that play. Carolina's not a bad one either. 2,800. If you want to go like Chuba and Carolina, I like that. If you want to go Bijan in Atlanta, more expensive and more chalky, I like that too. So that rounds it up. All right. Good luck to everybody in your Week 15 contest, whatever you may be doing, whether it's DFS, redraft, fantasy football playoffs, best ball, or just straight up gambling. Best of luck to you. Hope that you can take a little tidbit from this show and apply it and use it to make some money. Please subscribe. Follow us on YouTube as well at AndrewDFS. Visit our projection website at www.ffmetrics.com. And finally, check my podcast out on Spotify called Huddle Up. Episodes drop Tuesday and Wednesday. And that is it, folks. Good luck this week.